Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Fond du Lac Area Women's Fund's virtual series, Project Table Talk. This is an educational opportunity for us at the Fond du Lac Area Women's Fund to bring topics out into the public eye that might not otherwise be delved into. Today, we are joined by two guests. I have Amber Kilawee of the United Way of Fond du Lac. She is the executive director. And then I have Dr. Joanne Pasiuk, who is a general surgeon at SSM Health and a member of the United Way Board of Directors. So since we are in December, we are in the thick of year-end giving season. I wanted to take an opportunity to talk with you two ladies today about what that looks like for the United Way and the giving that occurs not only to the United Way, but what the United Way gives back into the greater Fond du Lac area community. We also have exciting news related to the release of the latest L.I.F E study. So we're going to want to talk a little bit about that, especially related to domestic violence and child abuse, which are two critical components to the Women's Fund's initiative, Fond du Lac Says No More. So let's get started with the campaign. Amber, I think because the United Way has been doing campaigns across the country for many, many years, people think that they know what that's all about. But of course, there's changes along the way. And so I'd love for you just to walk us through what the campaign looks like here in Fond du Lac in terms of start dates, end dates, number of organizations that are participating, ways that people can give, goals for your campaign, and just the complete rundown to let people know what is going on here in the Fond du Lac area community.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. We are in the thick of the campaign, which kicked off in early September. We always kick off with our Day of Caring, which is a large community-wide effort to get volunteers out into the Health and Human Service Network. And those, again, are not just organizations that receive funding through our traditional cycle, but these are any organization that would ask for volunteers that day. We know that folks that volunteer are over 70% more likely to give. So it's also great for United Way, as we head into our campaign in that fall, to be able to impact those volunteers that way. So who later then become donors or could potentially become donors. So our campaign usually ends at the end of the year. Oftentimes, if we don't meet goal, we'll go into the quarter one. Usually we try to be wrapped up by February 1st. Our goal this year is $625,000. Last year we struggled, as I think most organizations and many United Way struggled to raise money. It was the first year that we were truly challenged with overhauling our campaign from a traditional, here's a pledge card. It's on your desk. It's in your mailbox. It's being handed to you, by a colleague, and then it's being turned in a very traditional way. We really were challenged. I just have to give a shout out to WISNET for really helping us get that campaign up and going virtually, so that folks could, still give in the way they have been used to, and it become a new change in tradition, but accustomed to giving through payroll. Payroll is the backbone of the giving campaign, Maria, for United Ways. We've been raising money since 1948, and usually up to 2/3 of our campaign comes from folks who work in a setting that would, a larger setting that would do a company giving campaign. We know over the years, as companies have regionalized, we have more folks working in companies that don't necessarily have a United Way campaign. We've really had to be innovative and try to reach them in a different way, which has really challenged the United Way network as a whole. But as a smaller United Way, we like to say we're small but mighty. We've also had to change with the times. We started doing a text to give campaign, which was really fun. And I just have to give a shout out for the partnership with United Way and the Women's Fund. When we last spring were able to have a very successful feminine hygiene drive for our Fond du Lac School District. Using that campaign, lots of dollars came in that way, as well as those products that we're able to get out to our school district. So we are at approximately 65% of our campaign goal right now, with approximately 6 to 7 weeks to go. Again, I'll just give a quick shout out that folks can give through our website at FDLUnitedWay.org. They can, of course, give through their company giving campaign. If your company campaign is just kicking off, it is the easiest, most impactful way. You don't necessarily think of that, coming out of your check. I give that way, our staff gives that way, and most of our board members. But at the end of the day, it makes up for a large percentage of what we raise. And then you can also text FDL United to 26989 to make a gift, tax deductible gift today.
Wow, love all of that information, Amber. Good thing you have a lot of energy because there's a lot going on over there right now. And so appreciative to hear, the great work that's being done here in the community with United Way. And as you mentioned, it was really it felt great to be able to partner with you earlier in 2021 on the feminine product drive. That was one of those things where I think when you and I talked, we both were like, how is this happening here in our community? And then when I started doing research, it was like, oh my gosh, it's happening in lots of communities. And of course, COVID has an impact on families that are living in poverty. And so it was, all related. It definitely makes sense. I'm looking forward to doing it again in 2022. It's going to be better than ever, right? We know this. But one of the things during your explanation and talking about COVID and the impact, I didn't even think about, wow. I mean, we know nonprofits all had to rethink, pivot, whatever you want to say, as far as how we did our work in 2020 and even the spillover of that this year in 2021. But you're right. I mean, if people were no longer coming into the office, those campaigns through the years of United Way have always been, these big, there were lots of creative things I've seen done, everything from gift baskets to pay for a Packers party at lunch goes to United Way, all of those things. And you lost all of that ability to connect. So I commend you for being creative and coming up with other ways to do that. And so let's talk a little bit about why giving to the United Way is important. Joe, you're on the board of directors. Amber just rattled off everything that's going on. I know that board members play an important role both in developing strategy, but also the giving and just knowing how to communicate to the community why it's important to give. So tell us a little bit from your perspective as a board member, what the United Way of Fond du Lac, the benefit of giving to them is for the entire community.
Sure. So I think that number one is this is a local give, right? When you're giving to Fond du Lac United Way, you're giving to our community. That money is being used for projects that are being run by other organizations, but to impact the good of our local, county. That often has impacts on other areas of the state, but it's mostly staying here. The second big reason to give to the United Way rather than giving directly to one of the, and let's face it, we as a community, we are pretty generous, and I think everybody is trying to do the best to put their money where it makes the most impact. United Way is sort of vetting those projects, right? So before projects get funded by the United Way, those projects have to go through a pretty extensive application process, and then those projects are held accountable for what they do with the United Way funds. So it's not just like the money's there and it's gone, and we don't know what happened to it. Those organizations come back, give a report to the United Way, you know, when they've achieved their goals for those projects, it's great. And sometimes, you know, things don't go so well and there's some learning involved, but that money is, you know, given to groups that show that they can do what they want to do with it, and then held accountable for how those results play out. So I think if you're trying to make impact and you're not exactly sure, you know, how to give money to the community, it's a great way to do that, because it's going to go to projects that are local, and it's going to go to projects that are proven, especially when we're funding projects that are ongoing, right? These are not all just, but it's also, those projects are held accountable for how they work.
Mhm. You know, that's an important point, not only the local giving aspect of things, but also the entire process that is behind the application to the United Way, the review of that by, you know, members of your board or grants committee. We're doing the same thing with what we do with our granting process at the Women's Fund. And, you know, one of the things that I have heard in some past conversations is people didn't quite understand that piece of things. And what I am finding in our process, we've tweaked things since I got here 2.5 years as far as our granting process goes. But we are really looking more toward letting the community know the partnership aspect of this, right? So it is not this idea of, oh, you give to either United Way or you give to the Women's Fund and they are a quote unquote pass-through agency. Why would I do that, right? Well, for me, the importance of us being able to partner with each of our grantees. And what does that look like, right? So it looks like what you're talking about, Joanne, a vetting process. So there has to be thought in the programming, you know, not to suggest that any nonprofit would ever not think about programming prior to putting it in place. But I know, being in the nonprofit sector myself for the last 15 years and working in various nonprofits and coming up with programming, you know, sometimes you have this new innovative idea. You're passionate about it, you really want to put it in place, but maybe have not taken the time to think about all the steps on what that is going to entail and how it can be most successful. So by putting together a grant request surrounding that new program, or even a program that has been around for a while, it makes you, as a nonprofit leader, be very thoughtful and purposeful with, here's what I'm going to do. This is what we want this program to accomplish. And we recognize that at some point, someone's going to ask us, hey, how did you do with all of that, right? And not in a way that we're like some, you know, as a community overseer or something of that nature, but more from the perspective of, if something doesn't work out, the conversation then is expanded, right? Like your board and staff at the United Way can talk to the grantee nonprofit and say, okay, cool, we get it, it didn't work out. What are some ways that we can make that better? What are some ways that we can bring diversity, equity, and inclusion at a higher level in the work you're doing? How can you reach a greater population of people? Like, those are the types of conversations that we're having with our grantees right now at the Women's Fund. I'm sure you're having those same types of things. On the surface, I don't know that the public sees that. And that's really why I wanted to have this conversation with the two of you today, to say, look, there's just this massive behind the scenes thing that you don't see that is really beautiful, I think. I mean, the idea of collaboration and the idea of more people connecting is powerful. It's the way that we bring true change to our communities. And I'm very much of the belief that we're stronger when we come together. And so That's why you give to the United Way. That's why you give to another granting agency like our Women's Fund, to ensure that there's that entire network of people working together. So
I think, Maria, even something we've changed, I just want to add to that comment, something we've even changed is in our language. Back in the day, we used to call them member agencies, you know, member partners, whatever. We call them agency partners, because that's really, at the end of the day, that's what they are. You know, they're a partner in our work. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in our community, and every organization has a role to play in that. So, you know, you know, the member part of the language alluded to this very transactional relationship, and that is not at all, you know, the new, you know, it's not your grandpa's United Way, we'll say. That's the, you know, that's the evolved United Way, right? I mean, that's the next generation, and that's what we all aspire to be. Is these are partners in the work, in the impact, in the outcomes, in honoring you know, the stakeholders' wishes and the donors' intent, you know, to make an impact. They are the vehicle, you know, to drive those, you know, we have those 3 pillars, you know, those larger 3 pillars. They provide the direct service then to impact the community. And, you know, that is more than just a transaction. You know, we count on them. You know, we're helping with, you know, grant writing. I know you guys do things like that too, Maria, at the Women's Fund. We have agencies who do United Way campaigns for us, right? You know, obviously, you know, it's really important to support your internal mission, but it's also really important to support things like Giving Tuesday. You know, I was a donor, proud donor to the Women's Fund on Giving Tuesday, because I believe in your mission, I believe in your work, and I have I'm fortunate to have the ability to be able to support more than one organization. So I'm just always so proud and pleased when a United Way agency partner comes in and says, "Oh, we did Jeans Day, or we're going to do something. Can we get some United Way swag that we can give out?" And then they do payroll deductions. So I think, again, going back to your point, Maria, people don't always think of that. They're like, "Wait, your agencies give to you too?" Heck yeah, they believe in the mission and the, you know, the value of having a United Way in our community, and they'll back it with a campaign or some type of event.
That's awesome. So part of when we talk about vetting, a lot of times we look at the way a grantee will make an argument on the needs of our community. And so you at the United Way have been doing this L.I.F.E study for I don't know, you tell me how many years it's been going on here in Fond du Lac, but important information to have to ensure that the work that is being done here by nonprofits aligns with the needs of individuals in the community. So yesterday, the latest findings of the L.I.F.E study were shared publicly. And so Amber, give us the lowdown on the study. In particular, you know, we're interested at the Women's Fund in hearing about the domestic violence findings, the findings related to child abuse and neglect, because that aligns with our initiative at Fond du Lac Says No More. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we released the L.I.F.E report. I'll just go back to the history. I have to, I'd be remiss to not give my predecessor the credit that she deserves. But when Tina Potter was the director with United Way from 2005 to 2015, she partnered with the public library. Our public library has you know, an expert researcher on hand. So being able to bring all of these leading indicators for excellence, so L.I.F.E, all of these priorities together into one cohesive and comprehensive community assessment. So we then picked up 3 years ago, we started a conversation with the Envision Greater Fond du Lac, the Fond du Lac Area Foundation and United Way back in 2017. We released our first report in that spirit of collaboration and in partnership with those 3 partners in 2018. So the report that was released yesterday is kind of the second iteration of that report. So we have that comparative data, qualitative data from our county, Sheboygan County, Manitowoc County, and then 3 other counties that are like Fond du Lac as far as population is concerned, demographics, income, tax base, et cetera. So that really when we're looking as United Way as a funding source on how we're doing, where we rank in Fond du Lac County, as far as maybe an area like health and wellness, specifically child abuse and neglect, or quality of life, violent crime rates. Those are 2 of the priority areas within the L.I.F.E report. We're able to say, okay, based on communities that look like us in the state, but then outside of the state, here's how we're doing and here's how we're moving the needle through the collective impact model, right? So you guys are doing you guys are funding at the Women's Fund, United Way, say the foundation, here we have, this issue, let's just say child abuse and neglect. How are we getting at that? How are we partnering together? We know what the data points are. What are we doing to, come up with what is the root cause, and how are we able to collectively make an impact through our resources and the information that we have access to via a data source like the L.I.F.E report.
So tell us, what are some of the findings related to the child abuse and neglect and domestic violence within the L.I.F.E study?
I would definitely encourage you also, Maria, to afterward, maybe we can put a link, but this is what the report looks like here, just in case you're looking. But we'll put a link out there to the report. I know we have it linked at the Fond du Lac Area Foundation's website, our website, and Envision. But take a look at it, get into it. The health and wellness indicator is where we have the child abuse and neglect rate. The rate of child abuse and neglect increased in Fond du Lac County from 2012 to 2015. However, from 2015 to 2018, the rate remains stable. This is substantially higher, though. Substantially higher than the rate for the state of Wisconsin. It requires further investigation to understand the contributing factors. And some of those root causes are what we're exploring at United Way. You guys are all, digging into at the Women's Fund along with your partners. So I think there's more to be talked about. But as far as a data point is concerned, although we remain stable for that rate of child abuse and neglect at 43.3 per 1,000 children, the rate of abuse and neglect per 1,000 children, we're still higher than the Wisconsin average, which is concerning. I'll just list off, so under quality of life, the violent crime rate, we don't necessarily have a specific data point that speaks to domestic violence, but this one is a good data point to be able to explore in the quality of life indicator. Though Fond du Lac County's violent crime rate is consistently ranked in the top half over comparative communities, Fond du Lac County has maintained its violent crime rate over 4 comparative communities where they increase their violent crime rates. So there's one county outside of Wisconsin that decreased its violent crime rate, though it still experiences quite significantly higher crime rates compared to other counties. And again, these comparative counties are very similar as far as demographics, size, and income is concerned. It's important to note that the most recent data from 2014 and 16 may not totally reflect current violent crime rates in the community. And this comes from, as far as a data source, this comes from the Uniform Crime Reporting FBI. That's a federal source then through the FBI. Speaking beyond the numbers, Maria, as far as data is concerned, I want to be able to also tie back to the campaign where some of our money goes for to get at some of these issues, right? 2 of our program partners are the Solution Center. I know they're a pillar partner of your Fond du Lac Says No More campaign and initiative. And then for many, many years, United Way has been helping to fund the reducing the incidence of sexual abuse at A-Stop, where they go into schools and provide, outreach, education. I know that it's been huge. My kiddos, I think, were at the Y, and they were having their first presentations from A-Stop and coming home and, having those really open conversations about feeling safe. So, really getting at, the young children as far as the education is concerned. So those are 2 programs that United Way for many, many years has been funding and hoping to provide some prevention dollars. Now, from a stability standpoint, we also, think of ourselves creating stability and serving basic needs to strengthen families and individuals through some of our dollars as well. And those include supports to organizations also like Solution Center, Salvation Army, and then every year, we receive some funding requests from organizations that help to meet the need of families as far as childcare is concerned. And we know that childcare is the #1 household expense according to our L.I.F.E report. Again, L.I.F.E is we love our acronyms in the nonprofit sector, I'm not going to lie, but probably no different than the medical sector, probably a little bit less complicated, in fact. But L.I.F.E is an acronym for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. That's a United Way backed report nationwide. We're really proud to be able to continue to bring that to our community here in the state of Wisconsin. There's 72 county snapshots, so I'd encourage you also to take a look on our website. That is a really great data pull. But we know that childcare, back to the survival budget that Alice speaks to, is the #1 household expense if there are children in that home. And we know that having inadequate access to the dollars to get into a child care slot just puts you at risk for so many other, basic needs support. So we're able to provide some funding to 2 organizations to ensure that kiddos are not having to be removed from a daycare setting because they're not able to pay, or perhaps they're not able to come up with maybe an application fee to get into a child care center. So also through basic needs, we're able to support those additional programs.
Yeah, the other thing that, other programs that I think people may not know about, when we talk about childhood neglect and abuse, kids who are removed from families where there are issues are often separated from their siblings, right? So we fund a program, Camp To Belong, that helps those kids be able to spend time with their siblings in a camp situation when they normally are no longer able to live together. So, just that ability to reconnect with family in a situation where those kids are under, incredible amount of stress. That's just another one of those projects that we're funding through the United Way.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think we do mental health counseling support through Catholic Family Charities, and that even has counseling provided in Spanish, which is one of those areas where we see a significant need in the community, and so United Way funnels money through our partners for that.
Mm-hmm. Joe, you jumping in and sharing the add-on to what Amber had already shared just reminds me of the idea that people want to oversimplify sometimes some of these issues, right? So you say child abuse and neglect, and immediately someone thinks about, someone harming their child. But what they don't think about is the ripple effect of everything that occurs after that, or the ripple effect that led up to that. So, just to connect some of these dots. So Amber, a parent is stressed because they cannot pay for childcare. They harm their child. Their child then goes into foster care, does not get to see a sibling, and now the camp steps in and is able to provide some of that. Meanwhile, there is counseling going on through Solution Center to address some of the trauma that may have occurred, or through Catholic Charities, right? So it's all interwoven. It's all a ripple from one situation, one red dot to talk about our green dot bystander intervention program. One incident, and it just creates so much of a large and rippling effect throughout the community, and not just today, but well into the future, unfortunately, right? And so that's why we're seeing a lot related to having to address mental health issues related to things that have happened to people many, many years ago. So cannot say enough about the work that you're doing at United Way, Amber. You and I we're colleagues, but we've gotten to know each other, love your passion for the work you're doing. continuing from an amazing mentor, Tina Potter, who we both know too, very passionate about what she did within the community as well, and some of the things she did with us at the Women's Fund too. So keep up the good work. And I just want to reiterate for anyone who's ever thought that giving to the United Way may not make sense. Hopefully we've changed your mind here today. And the website and the text to give again, Amber.
Yeah, we're at FDLUnitedWay.org, where you can make a donation, check out our L.I.F.E report, check out our L.I.F.E report, or information about some of our basic needs services like 211, information referral line, or Family Wise, which is a prescription discount card so that folks are not going without medications, for example. And you can also text FDL United to 26989 to make a donation. If you get it in before the end of the year, December 31, you can still claim it as a tax deductible donation. Also, thanks to the tax law being brought into this year for $300, you do not have to itemize your taxes. So we're excited to say you could take that right off the top. So I know it's a little tax talk, but we'd like to always mention that, and it's a nice incentive for folks as well.
Absolutely. So ladies, thank you so much for coming today. And again, the work that you're doing in the community, very appreciative of the passion and the power that's going on. Women bringing through change and that ripple effect out into the community. So this ends this conversation today. We could talk forever. I appreciate you coming. We'll look forward to meeting again here at Project Table Talk at 1 o'clock on Thursday, December 23rd. We'll have a special holiday edition, a year in review wrap up, where we get to celebrate everything we've talked about throughout the year, all the people that have impacted the community, and we're really excited. We hope to see you soon, all in the name of forwarding our mission at the Women's Fund to bring bold change for women and girls in the Fond du Lac area. Thank you.
Thank you.